Hello and welcome to this class of Principles of Microeconomics. I am your teacher Muhammad Nadeem Sarwar. Today we shall discuss the price and output decisions in monopoly. In this lecture we shall first discuss what is monopoly, then we shall study the price and output determination in monopoly. Afterward, we shall start we shall have a look at the social cost of monopoly, and at the end we shall enlighten ourselves with price discrimination. So let's start with the lecture. Students, as we had already discussed in our lecture on perfect competition, while we were comparing different kind of market structures, that monopoly is a market in which there is only one producer that produces a unique commodity which has no close substitutes. Therefore, we can say that in monopoly there is no difference between farm and industry. The sole producer represents the whole industry and it produces a unique commodity which is not produced by any other firm. Therefore, a consumer may choose to buy the product of this firm, or he will not be able to buy the similar product of any other firm. This makes the firm most powerful. Hence, firm behave like price setter. That is, it sets the price at a level it wishes to, and consumer can only choose the quantity he or she is buying. Similarly, entry into and exit from such market is fully restricted. This may be restricted by law, as we see that in almost all the countries, the central banks have sole authority over supply of money and printing currency notes. It may be because of copyrights, etc. Students, like perfect competition, monopoly is also an ideal market. Therefore, it is very difficult to find an example of monopoly that satisfies all these conditions 100%. However, we can find some closely related examples, such as the operating systems of the operating systems used in the computers worldwide are mostly manufactured by Microsoft. Similarly, in Pakistan, the railway services and the electricity distribution are provided by state-owned enterprises. Now, let's move on and study the revenue side. As we already know that total revenue represents the monetary return of the sale of the product. When the single firm produces a unique commodity with no close substitute, the price is controlled and set by the firm. If it sets a very higher price of its product, its sale would be smaller in quantity. While if the product price is lowered, then the sale will climb up. This is represented by first two columns of this table. We can see that as price is decreasing, the quantity demanded of the product is increasing. The revenue, therefore, is increasing initially, but it is at a diminishing rate. That is, it increases, reaches a maximum, and then starts falling. Margin revenue, as we define it, the, the ratio of change in total revenue to 1 unit change in the output, that is change delta TR divided by change, that is delta Q. This is 80 at first, then it is 40 divided by 1, 40. Then when total revenue is maximum, margin revenue is 0, and when total revenue is falling, the margin revenue is negative. Here we can see that the values of price are also decreasing like the values of margin revenue. However, unlike perfect competition, in monopoly, price or average revenue, which is the other name of the price, is not equal to marginal revenue. In fact, marginal revenue is less than the price. We shall further discuss on it in a while. Graphically, this can be represented as, that is, both average revenue and marginal revenue will be falling, but marginal revenue falls sharply, and total revenue first increases but at a decreasing rate, that is, it increases, reaches a maximum, and then starts falling. Now let's discuss the relationship between marginal revenue and average revenue in monopoly. Students, as we know that by the law of demand, the quantity demand and the price are related negative. This is represented by the equation. Rearranging this equation as inverse demand function, we have where we simplified A over B as G and 1 over B as H. We know that total revenue is price times quantity. So, and marginal revenue is the derivative of total revenue with respect to quantity. Comparing these two equations, first of marginal revenue and second of average revenue or price, we can see that the value of intercept is same. However, the slope of MR is double than the slope of AR. That is what we discussed while we were studying it through table and diagram on previous slide. Now, optimal output decision. A firm will decide the level of price and the level of output at a level where its profit is maximum. And we know that profit is the difference between total revenue and total cost. We know that total revenue of monopoly behaves like the yellow colored curve shown in the diagram, whereas total cost in short run behaves like the yellow colored curve in the diagram. Sorry, the total revenue is blue colored while the total cost is yellow colored. Now we can see that at after an initial smaller level of output, the total revenue is higher than total cost. The difference between these two represents profit. as the firm will like to maximize its profit. Therefore, it will choose such an output level where the difference is maximum. This is represented by the quantity shown as Q star. Now let's discuss the equilibrium of the firm through MC and MR approach. Like we studied in previous lecture on perfect competition that firm is in equilibrium or it is earning maximum profit where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue and slope of MC is greater than slope of MR. So these are MR and AR curves. This is MC and the point where MC intersects MR represents the equilibrium point. As we discussed in the last lecture, now we join this point with output axis with AR and from AR we shall join that point to revenue and cost. This shows that the total level of output produced by the firm is OQ star. The price is OP star and hence the total revenue should be OQ star AP star. As we know that in monopoly there is only single firm in the market, so it has no fear of competitors. Therefore, the firm will set a price where it is earning abnormal profit. And we know that for abnormal profit, the price must be higher than average cost, or the average cost must be lower than the price. Here, the price is OP star or Q star A. Therefore, the average cost curve should be lower than this point A at Q star level of output. This shows that the total cost that firm bears to produce the commodity is OQ star BC. Per unit cost is Q star B, which is less than the price. Hence, firm earns abnormal profits. The profit can be traced as P star A B C. Here, the firm earns abnormal profit both in short run as well as in long run. Now, let's study the rule of thumb for price setting. Students, we know that total revenue is price times quantity. And if we take a derivative of it with respect to output, we get MR. Since price and quantity P and Q are multiplying, therefore we shall apply the quotient rule. This equation of MR shows that if a monopolist will decrease the price to increase the level of output by 1 unit, the total change in revenue will be the price received for this additional unit of output and the change in price because of trying to sell one more unit and its effect on all the units sold. We can further simplify it as that is, we multiplied and divided the last term by p, and we know that elasticity is equal to delta Q over delta P multiplied by P over Q. Therefore, the highlighted term is actually the inverse of elasticity. Since the value of elasticity is negative for normal or inferior goods, therefore, if we take the absolute value, we shall put the negative sign. This relationship of price and marginal revenue is very interesting, not only from the point of view of monopoly, but it is relevant for all kinds of market structures. Let's view it. Since we know that in perfect competition, both MR and AR, that is price and marginal revenue, are equal. We also know that the demand curve faced by the firm is horizontal, that is, its elasticity is infinite. So, putting it in the formula, we have MR equal P into 1 plus 1 over elasticity, which is infinite. And we know that 1 over infinite is 0. So P into 1 plus 0, that is P, which is exactly as represented in perfect competition. However, in monopoly and in monopolistic competition, we have downward falling market demand curve called as AR or D or P, whatsoever you name it. And we know that on such a demand curve, the value of elasticity is different at different points. Therefore, this term will show that in such case, MR and price will not be the same. Now, let's go back to the slide to study this relation further. We also know that MC is positive and MR must be equal to MC at equilibrium. Therefore, MR must also be positive. This happens only where the absolute value of elasticity is greater than 1. So replacing MR with MC, we have, and this MC minus P over P, or we can change it as P minus MC over P. This P minus MC represents the difference between the price charged against a product and the marginal cost, which is termed as markup. So the term on left hand side is the markup as the percentage of price. This is also called as Lerner's index of monopoly power. Its value ranges from 0 to 1. The more a value is away from 0, the more market is powerful. This relationship provides a rule of thumb for price setting, as the markup should be equal to minus of the inverse of elasticity of demand. Or we can simplify the very first equation on this slide as this shows that if a monopolist knows the marginal cost and the elasticity value of the product it is producing, it can directly find the price that will maximize its profit. Now let's discuss the social cost of monopoly. Students, as we have already discussed that that in perfect competition, in the long run, the firm produces at a point where its profits are normal profits, and this happens at the point where long run average cost is minimum. That is, firm uses its plant efficiently and optimally. Whereas in monopoly, as the firm aims just to maximize its profit and it aims to keep its monopoly safe. Therefore, it may produce any level of output just to stop other firms from entering into market. That is, it may produce lower level of output or and charge a high price, or may produce higher level of output when its average cost curve is rising just to stop the entry of other firms in the market. However, mostly monopolist firm charges higher price and produce lower quantities. Therefore, it makes consumers worse off and the firm is better off. However, the loss of consumer welfare is not fully transferred to producers. Therefore, the cost of this loss is borne by the society, and that is the social cost of monopoly. Let's see it through diagram. As we know that a monopolist firm will produce level of output where MC equal to MR, and this happens at level of output QM. It will charge the price of PM. However, if the firm would have a perfectly competitive market, it would have produced where the demand curve and supply curve intersect. And we know that MC represents the supply curve of the firm in perfectly competitive markets. So in competitive markets, the QC would have been the level of output and PC would have been the price. In such case, the consumer surplus would have been all the area above price line below the demand curve. That is GPCC. GPCC. or we can break down it as GAPM plus ABC plus APM PCB. And the producer surplus is the area above supply curve below the price point, that is FCPC, or triangle EBC and FEBPC. This is in case of perfect competition. But in case of monopoly, we can see that the price is at PM and output is at QM. Therefore, the consumer surplus is GPMA. And the producer surplus is FEAPM. We can break it down into FEBPC plus APMPCB. Now, comparing both of them, we can see that this triangle, that is GAPM, is retained by the consumers. FBPC, this rectangle, is retained by the producer. This square APMBC shifted from consumers to producers, while the triangle ABC and triangle EBPC are lost, that is, they are not transferred to any agent in the market. So these represent the deadweight loss. However, in case of monopoly, the social cost is not only the deadweight loss shown in the diagram, but it may also have the rent seeking. Rent seeking is the practice of spending heavy amounts in form of gifts, bribes, or legal activities in socially unproductive efforts to acquire, maintain, or exercise firms' monopoly power. This may be lobbying in the law institutes to protect monopoly power, protecting monopoly power through courts, or bribing the powerfuls in the society. Rent seeking involves all of these activities, and hence the cost of all these activities is borne by the society. We can find numerous examples of rent seeking throughout the world. It is especially higher where state has a more powerful role in economic affairs. Now let's study the last topic of this lecture, which is price discrimination. Students, price discrimination refers to selling a same good to different consumers at different prices. A monopolist can practice price discrimination by doing effective market separation. We often see that the electricity rates are different for consumers categorized as households and for the consumers categorized as industries. This is one example of price discrimination. Similarly, we see some doctors charging higher prices of healthcare services at their private clinics but provide same services when they go and set up the camps in low income areas of the city just for social services. The practice of effective price discrimination guarantees higher profits to monopolists. We can categorize the price discrimination as first degree price discrimination, second degree, and third degree price discrimination. Let's study these one by one. First degree price discrimination. This kind of price discrimination is when the monopolist has whole control and it sells a product that is very much demanded by the consumers. Therefore, the monopolist sells each unit at highest possible price. So it sells each and every unit separately and sells it to highest paying customer who is willing to pay maximum price, and consumer charge exactly that price. That is, there is no difference between maximum willingness to pay and actually paid price. In other words, we can say that in this case, the monopolist charges a price which is equal to reservation price. In this case, monopolist sells the unit of output where its average revenue curve is equal to marginal cost curve. However, it does not charges a uniform price to all the units. It sells first unit at its higher price, second unit at its highest possible price, third unit at its highest possible price, and so on. Therefore, in this case, consumer surplus is zero and all the consumer surplus is taken by the producer. So the producer surplus will be A, B, C. Second degree price discrimination. We often see this in our real life that price charged from the consumer is not a fixed per unit price, but many times it depends on how much quantity a consumer is buying. If a consumer is buying less quantity, the producer charges higher per unit price. And if it is buying the product in bulk, then price is normally reduced. This is an example of second degree price discrimination. That is, charging different price to the consumer based on the quantity he or she is buying. This is based on the principle of diminishing marginal utility, which states that as consumer consumes more quantities of a good, the extra utility goes on to decrease. So, to encourage consumer to consume and hence to purchase more of a good, the producer decreases the prices as the consumer purchases more and more units of a good. Output is higher than profit maximizing level of output when the firm is not practicing the price discrimination. This can be represented by the graph as again the firm sells where average cost is equal to the price. However, it does not charge a uniform price. If the consumer is buying Q1 quantity, he will be charged a price P1. If he is buying Q2 quantity, he will be charged a lower price. And if he is buying the higher number of units, he will be charged with lower price. Next is the third degree price discrimination. This is done by doing effective market separation based on the elasticity of demand. In a market where price is less elastic, that is, by increasing the price, the quantity demand does not fall significantly. Firm charges higher price. And in the markets where price elasticity is higher, that is, price is more elastic, which means charging a little high price creates a loss of sales very significant loss of sales, then the firm charges lower price in those markets. Let's study it with the help of diagram. Assume that we have two markets, one with higher price elasticity and other with lower price elasticity. Since the firm is same, so we represent both of these markets as represented in the diagram labeled as total. This marginal revenue represents the total marginal revenue from market 1 and market 2. Here MC is equal to MR at point E. So the total quantity sold in both markets will be QT. Now this is our first market. Here we can see that price is less elastic as shown by steeper AR or steeper demand curve. Hence, the firm is selling Q1 quantity and charging P1 price. The other market, labeled as market 2, is a market in which price is more elastic. As we can see that the demand curve is relatively flatter. So in this market, the firm will charge lower price and sell higher quantity compared to market 1. Q2 is the sum of Q1 and Q2. We can further discuss it by using simple mathematics. We know that the profit maximization condition of the firm is that its margin revenue must be equal to marginal cost. Here, margin revenue 1 is the function of price charged in market 1 and quantity sold in market 1. And MR2 is the function of P2 and Q2. Whereas FC, that is marginal cost, is the function of total output, which is Q1 plus Q2. So profit maximization condition says that MR1 must be equal to MC and MR2 must also be equal to MC. Therefore, we can say that P1 into 1 minus 1 over E1 should be equal to MC, and same for MR2, which can be substituted as P2 into 1 minus 1 over E2. As we know that a monopolist will charge different prices in both of these markets. So let's assume the monopolists charge higher price in market 1 and lower price in market 2. Since MC is the product of price and the function represented in the bracket, so higher P1 and lower P2 implies that cancelling 1 and cancelling the minus sign. So we can also write it as. Therefore, we can see that if the elasticity in a market is lower, the price charged in that market will be higher. And if the elasticity in a market is higher, the price charged in that market will be lower. That's all about this lecture. Please post your questions and give your feedback in comments. Also consider liking and sharing the video and subscribing the channel. Thank you and goodbye.